In an industry stuffed with marketing bullshit, empty promises, and shiny-suited liars, one woman's had enough. She knows what it's like to have the wrong clients, no money, and no time for fun. But she also knows how to fix it. And on the Business for Superheroes show, she promises to tell the down and dirty truth about business, sales, and running away with the circus. Here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I forgot what the show was called then, Joe.
You did?
I've also got a raspberry seed stuck in my tooth, which is distracting me.
Nice. Can you try and make like squeaky sucking noises every now and again?
Yes.
Excellent.
Hi. Welcome to the Business for Superheroes show. I'm Vicky Fraser and this is Joe.
Hi. Should we do this one again?
No, we were a bit all at sixes and sevens because we were on holiday last week and we didn't manage to get a podcast out because we were actually really struggled with internet and uploading and all sorts.
Well, didn't really struggle, just didn't do it. I didn't try very hard.
We were on holiday. We were going to do a camping podcast and...
We could have just recorded it, couldn't we?
We could have done, and we didn't. I don't really know why.
Because we were on holiday.
And tonight, we're not even drinking gin. I'm drinking water because I am not very well. I've got, I think, a bit of a kidney infection.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And in solidarity, I'm drinking Ribena.
Yeah, so we're
going to be really dull on this one.
We are a gin-free zone, which is terribly sad.
It's pretty depressing.
Yeah. But the holiday was awesome, wasn't it?
Holiday was amazing.
So on the very first night, the campsite, we were pretty much the only people on the campsite for the entire time. Mm-hmm. It was cool camping, and it was Millhaven Place, and it was great. Pembrokeshire, yeah. And on the first night, we went down to the beach to see the sunset, and I got charged by a rampaging badger, which was very exciting and quite alarming because they are big things up front.
It's quite a sturdy animal.
Very sturdy animal. They're kind of wedge-shaped and head down, and it just ran at me. And
travelling at pace, wasn't it? Surprisingly quick.
Really quick, yeah. So we saw that. We also saw giant caterpillars, like proper big as my hand caterpillars, big hairy things. We saw seals off St. Govan's Head.
Very nice.
Which was amazing. And I kind of saw the shapes floopling around in the sea. And then I think they saw us looking, and one of them came up and was kind of looking and kind of flapping its flippers at us, which was nice. What else did we do? We randomly met with friends that we haven't seen for 2 years.
Which was ace.
Which was really nice.
Hi, Catherine. Hi, Neil.
Hi, Catherine and Neil, because they were on holiday just a few miles away from us. We had a horrifying morning co-steering. You
make me ride horses. I make you go co-steering.
We went horse riding on the beach, which was epic. It was really great.
I can drive a horse. Vicky didn't believe that I could drive a horse because clearly... You know, it's a complicated thing, sitting on an animal and steering. I don't get it.
If anybody rides horses, I know that you're rolling your eyes as hard as I am right now, because I rode horses for many years. I am not what you would call an expert, but, you know, I used to ride a lot. So, anyway, let's leave that there.
You sit on a horse and steer.
As punishment, Joe made me go co-steering, which actually turned out to be pretty good fun. But I am... Well, let's put it this way. If the waves are bigger than 6 inches, I consider it to be dangerous, don't I?
Yes. So being washing machined around on a rocky coast
was frankly
in 6
horrifying.
foot waves was not good for you.
Well, the thing is that it was good because I am now marginally less afraid of the sea. I still have as much respect for the sea as I had before because it is horrifying. But we had like a buoyancy aid on and crash hats and wetsuits in it, so it was very warm.
It's great.
But I was genuinely frightened and I jumped in off a rock into this kind of, swell. And it was quite, it was glass calm right up until the day that we went co-steering, and then the wind picked up and it was just really, really quite big waves, weren't they?
Yeah.
You could surf on them, just about.
You could maybe surf on them. You could get sloshed about on them, maybe.
Anyway, it was horrifyingly dangerous. And I jumped in and I just couldn't do it. And I panicked, and like part of my brain was like, stop panicking, this is not helping. And the other part of my brain was like, I'm going to die! And yeah.
Did you die?
No, I did not die.
Not even a little bit?
No, and actually the co-steering, the woman who ran it, Cleo, was actually really good.
Hi, Cleo.
She didn't take the piss out of me. I'm sure maybe she did later, but not to my face, and I'm fine with that. And she was just like, stop fighting it. And as soon as I stopped fighting it and kind of turned on my back and I was like, oh, actually, this is okay. Nothing bad is going to happen to me. Mm-hmm. And I still didn't do some of the jumps that you did. But I do think it's to do something that scares you that much is a good thing to do.
Yes. So next time we're at the coast, we're going coast steering again.
Yeah, I will.
In worse weather.
No, I will go coast steering again, for sure. But the thing I'm most proudest of is jumping off a 7-metre... What would you call it? Like a wall?
Well, it was like a quarry. It was a flooded quarry.
Yeah, flooded. Well, they knocked the front of it out so that the sea could come in. It's made like an unnatural harbour, I guess, but it's really calm in there. And so we were kind of jumping off, and we were doing like 2 metres and then 3 metres and then 5 metres, and I jumped off a 7-metre thing, which is, it's quite a long way up. And I was quite pleased with that. And Joe, the lunatic, jumped off a 12-metre wall into the sea.
It's fine, it's just psychological. The only difference between a 5-metre wall and a 12-metre wall is just taking the step. There's nothing else to it. That's
not true though, is it? Because jumping off a 12-metre wall, there is the possibility of cracked vertebrae, smashed legs.
Yeah, but you don't do that, do you? That's like...
Yeah, but you could. You're not going to do that off 7 metres. You could do it off 12. Anyway, that's what we did, and it was great and horrifying. What were they called? The coast steering people?
Celtic Quest.
Celtic Quest. They were very, very good. I know I said it was horrifying, but that's only because I am scared of the sea. But it was very good. They were really patient.
And cheery.
And just totally actually really reassuring, because they were just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to like backflip into this really big swell here that looks to my eyes like it's just going to kill you immediately. So yeah, it was all very good. And by that time, it had all been paid for, and I was like, well, I've got to go through with this, which leads us nicely into today's topic. We are talking about how you need to basically get over it and not get sucked in by the sunk cost fallacy.
The sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah. So have you ever bought something expensive, Joe, that didn't really work and then persisted with it anyway?
Yeah.
Like Concorde, for example.
I haven't bought a Concorde. I think that's tricky. I'm pretty good at just recklessly spending money and then walking away. I'm all right with that.
I think most people will kind of have something that they've bought and then kind of regretted and then persisted with it anyway. Let's take Concorde as an example. I actually disagree with this, and I think you do as well, don't you? But Concorde was, as you probably know, dear listener, the world's first supersonic passenger jet. And it took 20... I did not realise it took 20 years to build it. And 2 governments. And yeah, 2 governments invested billions, like multiple billions of pounds in
and this was what, in the early 60s when they started?
70s? I don't know, a long time ago anyway.
Yeah, good fact checking.
Yeah, well, I don't know, it doesn't matter when. Just,
No, but like $1 billion now is you basically find out on the back of the sofa, don't you? But $1 billion 30 years ago was...
Yeah, I've got like $3 billion down the back of the sofa right now.
Just can't be bothered to rummage for it.
No.
But, a couple of billion 40 years ago was big numbers, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. You are right. Sorry. Yes, probably 60s, 70s. Anyway, but for a lot of that time, like I think probably 15 years or so of that time, like the first 5 years, everyone's like, yeah, this is really exciting. And it is really exciting. It's a really exciting thing to do. But after a period of time, everybody involved knew that there was basically no chance of getting the money back on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just an enormously expensive plane to fly. You could get fewer passengers on it, so you couldn't recoup the cost
dinky,
that way.
wasn't it?
It was dinky. And it just made no economic sense at all, but they kind of kept on with it and went ahead with it. Now, I think that it was a thing that they wanted to do to see if you could do it, and I don't have a problem with doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of a purely economic passenger aircraft, it didn't work as an economic.
It wasn't
power.
viable.
Well, no, but as a technology platform where we trained a whole bunch of people, we learned an awful lot of things, we developed whole new industries.
But we had supersonic, but we could do that with supersonic flight without kind of the commercial airliner aspect of it. I think is the point that this. I can't. This is the point that the article that I found while I was researching all of this stuff.
But yeah, on a per mile, on a passenger per mile basis, yeah, it's nonsense.
It is. And, there's been a lot of government prestige that had been shoved onto it, and that was obviously a factor as well, but I mean, that's a kind of, that ties into it as well. It's like, oh, well, we're we've put all of this prestige into it, we've put all this effort into it, and we've got to go through with it now. And it's like, having spent so much time and money on it, nobody felt like they could give up before they got something out of it. And that is the heart of the sunk cost fallacy, really.
Yes, you're too invested to let go and stop.
Yeah, and it's nonsense. Nobody wants to believe that they've made a bad decision, and nobody wants to wave goodbye to money they've already invested, which is insane, because the whole point of sunk costs, so economists describe sunk cost as you're never going to get it back, it's gone.
Money that you have spent.
Set fire to it, it's gone, disappeared. And yeah, but it drives wars, it drives terrible government decisions, it drives poor life choices, and it drives awful business decisions as well, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about it on the podcast.
So have you had a sunk cost experience in your business?
Well, I was thinking about this, and yeah, I think I have. I have, because it was my first AdWords experience. I might as well have set fire to several £1,000s, frankly.
Right.
Because I was just like, I'm gonna try this thing because it's AdWords, and I didn't know what I was doing. And so I kind of had this AdWords account, and I was like, I'm gonna put £100 in. And it's a lot more expensive now, by the way. The cost per click has gone up a lot. So before I go any further, I'm going to preface this with, get an expert to do this for you. Do not try and do this yourself. Let my sunken cost waste of several £1,000s, and it was several £1,000s, let you not do that. I would have been much better spending that several grand on an expert.
Someone who knew what they were doing.
Yeah, to do it for me.
But go on, do your story.
So yeah. And I was like, I'm going to try AdWords, and I'm going to put my money in, and I'm going to see how it goes. And I was like, okay, that didn't work, so I'm going to do this and do that. And you do test and tweak. You have to test and tweak. But you also have to know what you're doing with the mechanics and the back end of it and the keywords and all the, clever stuff that
and pay attention.
I don't understand. You have to pay
rather than just
attention.
let your money dribble away.
Yeah, exactly. And you can set limits and stuff. But I kind of got to the point where I was like, well, this isn't working, but I'm a person who tests and measures and tweaks, and so I need to keep doing this. And so there was a little bit of brain fuckery going on, as well as the economic thing. It's like, well, I've put all this money in, and I need to.
This needs to, we keep working and we keep fiddling, and sooner or later it'll become magical and profitable.
And it would have become profitable had I got someone who knew what they were doing to do it. But I just got to the point where I was just like, well, I just need to keep going with this now. And it's just nonsense, because that money doesn't mean anything. It's not there anymore. So there's a big misconception that we make rational decisions based on the future value of stuff. So objects and investments and experiences. But we don't. The truth is that our decisions are totally, driven by the emotional investments we accumulate over time. And so, the more you invest, the harder it is to abandon it. And this is why people stick in really awful relationships and awful jobs, and, they do terrible advertising. And I hear people say it, it's like, why are you still in this relationship? I've had this conversation with people like, we've been together for 20 years. It's like, so what? And you're miserable. Those 20 years, you're not going to get them back. Yeah. They don't mean anything anymore. And, if you're not happy, leave. And that goes for crappy jobs as well. If you're unhappy in your job and you're like, but I've put so much time and effort into it, you're not going to get that time and effort back. But yeah, our brains work that way. And I'm kind of being outraged, but we're all human. We all fall for this stuff. It's how our brains work. It's insane. If anyone wants to know more about this, kind of the psychological and neurological side of this, there's a couple of books I want to recommend. Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow, is brilliant. Have you read it?
No.
It's really, really good. He talks a lot, he and his colleague, whose name I can't remember because I'm a terrible person. But he and his colleague talk a lot about, or did a lot of studies about, the imbalance between losses and gains in your brain. And this is really important if you ever want to sell something, which I'm assuming you do because you're listening to this podcast. But the threat of loss is a far more powerful motivator to our behaviour than the promise of gain. And so we will fight a lot harder to preserve what we have than we will fight to get something new.
That's interesting.
Did you not know that?
I had heard that, yes. I think I've read a précis of the book, or the first chapter or two, or I have heard that before. So £50 of loss is more painful than the pleasure of £50 of gain.
Yeah, well, I would perhaps put it like £50 of loss is more painful than the pleasure, the kind of opposite pleasure than you would get from, say, £10 of, or like £100 of gain.
Right.
So, faced with the prospect of making £100, but definitely losing £50. They did a lot of experiments with betting and gambling and chance and that kind of thing. And they found that people were generally really reluctant. The return on investment would have to be massive. The return on risk had to be massive. So it's like if you're going to risk £50, then you're going to want to make £500.
Yeah.
So it's just that massive imbalance. So it's like, you could stand to gain or lose £50. Most people will say, no, I'm not having any of that. But if it's like, then, well, you might lose 50 quid, but you might make 500.
Then maybe they'll go for it.
That's when people start thinking it's worth doing. And that's really, really important to remember if you want to sell something, because quite often as marketers and business people, we're so focused on the benefits of, what our thing can offer and what our thing can do for people that we forget how human brains work.
So it's more weighty and more persuasive to remind people of the things they'll lose if they don't.
Yeah, it can be, yeah. It's not always the case, but generally that's how people's brains work. And this is why I had a conversation with one of my Flamingo coaching clients this morning, actually, and I was talking about, I was asking him how he had presented this this proposal, that this work action plan to a potential client. And it told me, and he said, I said this and I said that, and I said, well, did you really show him what he stands to gain, like, in tangible terms? And he's like, oh yeah, we talked about how, the whole idea of it is to make money. I was like, that's not enough, because, it's what this guy was selling was, I think it was like 3 or 4 grand products. Mm-hmm. And for example, if my client was, his fees say were £1,000, it's like, you only have to sell one thing to make 3 or 4 times the amount of your investment. You only have to sell one, and chances are you're going to sell more than that, because this is an ongoing thing. Mm-hmm. And so you need to get those numbers right. And then also you need to be contrasting it with, well, what happens if you do nothing? You're going to make nothing. You're going to carry on with this new business, and
nothing will happen. And you will, get poorer and poorer. Presumably you'll have to go back and work in Aldi or whatever. So that Aldi actually pays quite well. But that was kind of the point I was making. We forget that. So we forget that people need tangibles, and we forget that people also, they want to preserve what they've got already. Mm. So, it's if you're doing fitness and weight loss, it's often more powerful if you're not aiming at people who want to lose weight actively. Actually, even if they do want to lose weight actively, but it's like, what do they stand to lose if they don't get healthy and fit? Yeah. What they stand to lose, you hear of a lot of people who kind of have a child and then do oh my God, I need to survive the next 40 years.
Exactly.
And suddenly they start doing exercise and looking after themselves and eating better because they've suddenly got something they can miss out on if they're not careful.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I do so much exercise. It's like, I don't want to lose the bottom that I have, frankly.
Yeah, back in the gym.
So, that we are motivated. That's what we are motivated by is loss, not gain so much. I mean, we are still motivated by gain, but bear that in mind when you're trying to sell something. And Dan Ariely, there's another book that I'm going to recommend to people. I've mentioned this before, I think, in the podcast. Predictably Irrational. Mm-hmm. Is also a really, really good book. He is a behavioural economist, which is fascinating stuff. He calls it, all of this stuff, the pain of paying. So whenever you have to give up something you own, you feel pain, and you own money, which you are using to pay for your goods and services. The amount doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how, they've done studies into this. It does not matter how much you're going to pay, even if it's 50p, it's still painful to part with it.
Right.
And so you'll feel pain whatever the price is, and this influences your decision and behaviours. Again, that's something that you need to remember when you are selling something to people, because good marketing is all about convincing people that what they want to buy is worth more than the investment that they're making.
Right.
And it has to be worth a lot more. That's why that there is so much, and the online...
It's no good to sell someone something for £1,000 if it's going to make them £1,000.
No. Because, rationally, that should be fine, because it's like, well, I've got my money back. I tried something. Maybe it didn't work as well as I thought it was going to do. Mm-hmm. Rationally, that's perfectly reasonable, but we are not rational creatures. And so, if you're wanting to sell somebody something, you need to make sure that emotionally it's not just that they don't lose, they come out ahead.
Yeah.
And so that's why, I don't know, I was thinking of an example. Okay, so we can tell this, just a very quick little story, and we'll go into this in more detail another day, because it's a really good example. But that horrifying restaurant on the way home, we're not going to go into the details of the story, but that wasn't that expensive, and yet I felt like that was a really expensive meal. It was very unpleasant. And then yesterday we went to the cider mill, Dunkerton cider mill, which was, actually, it wasn't massively expensive, but it was certainly pricier than, your average Sunday lunch. We spent 50 quid.
Yeah.
And for me, that was just like, the pleasure of that meal so far outweighed that cost.
Yeah.
that it just was, that's the kind of thing that you want to be aiming for with people. You want to leave people thinking, oh, this is amazing. It's just an amazing thing. And so the emotional benefits that you get from it are going to be far more than the monetary costs, I guess.
The money that you have to shell out for it.
Yeah. Really, really important to remember those two things. We try and avoid losses of any kind. We're more motivated by that. And that, you need to, you need to offset the pain by a lot more than you think.
Yeah, the benefit needs to be orders of magnitude bigger than the pain.
It does. It really does. So you've got to be massively over-delivering, but you've also got to be, your marketing has got to be good enough so that people really think, this isn't a cost that it's like, I need that thing, I want that thing, and I want it right now. So remember those two things.
And when people talk about marketing budgets, it always is irritating, isn't it? Because if you're doing your marketing properly, you spend some money on marketing and you make several times the money you spend back.
Hopefully, yeah.
That's the way it should work.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, you need to tweak it.
Yeah.
Do it again. Do it better.
Yeah.
But yet people have marketing budgets. If you could turn £100 into £300 reliably...
Why wouldn't you turn £1,000 into £3,000?
Why wouldn't you just put more money in?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do it bigger?
I know. I think that's because people have a fundamental misunderstanding of marketing, but also a fundamental misunderstanding of the sunk cost fallacy and stuff. You reminded me of something then, and I was going to say it, and now I've forgotten.
Oh.
I know.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Damn it.
I feel very sad now. But no, it's a kind of similar thing. We can. I've lost all of my words.
Oh God.
I know.
This is what happens when you don't have gin.
I know. Oh no. It's like the life equivalents. I'm just speaking in tongues now.
Have you gone? Have you left the room?
I don't know. It's life equivalents. Okay, so real life equivalents to business stuff. Losing something permanently hurts, right? It hurts if you break something that means a lot to you. It's painful. Losing £100, it's painful. So wasting money hurts as well. So it's like going to see a terrible film. How many times have we been to the cinema? Actually, not that often, but every now and then we've been to the cinema and we've bought the tickets. And it's expensive going to the cinema now. It's like 40 quid.
I know.
Once you've bought your seats and your popcorn and your drinks and stuff, it's not a cheap night out. And you go and see this film and you get 20 minutes in and you're like, this is a terrible film. But you sit there and you waste 2 hours of your life watching this terrible film because you've paid for it. And it's like, but you're not going to get that money back. So you might as well
just
leave the cinema.
Take your popcorn to the park.
Take your popcorn to the park and do something else. And it's just, but we don't. We sit there and we watch the terrible film because we paid for it and we're damn well going to, watch it. And that makes no sense.
Have you never walked out of a film?
I don't think I have.
Have you not?
No, but I think that's partly to do with social anxiety as well.
Oh, I have. I walked out of some horror... remember when Waterworld came out, which was a terrible film itself?
I've never seen that.
But there was a little spate of, like now there's a spate of hero movies and comic book
Goes
stuff.
through fashions, yeah.
Yeah, so at the time, the fashion was sort of Waterworld-y, post-apocalyptic, disastery things. Mm-hmm. Most of them had Mel Gibson in them, for some reason.
Did they really, or did it just
It seemed to be. And I walked out one of those, and I walked out of AI, which was a big Spielberg one, I think.
I don't think I've seen that either.
Yeah, it was terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's strong words, Joe.
There was a point where the voiceover just... I was thinking, God, this is going to finish, it's going to finish, and I can go. And they just kind of went, and 10,000 years passed. And it just carried on. And it was like, oh, right, I'm off. I'm done.
Okay, well, that was before we met, because I don't think I would have left. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, my point is... and it's kind of like you might have bought tickets to something and then you're like, oh, you know what, there's something better on. I could go and do that instead. But because you bought the tickets, you're like, I'm going to this thing.
Yeah.
And it's go and do the other thing because you're not going to get that money back anyway. Or try and sell the tickets or something. But, And so that is what the sunk cost fallacy is. And I think that everybody knows. So you have done a sunk cost fallacy thing. I mean, I'm sure you've sat and watched a film. It's like, even I'll do it at home and it's like, well, I'm going to watch this film now because it's like, it's terrible. And sometimes I'll just get my book out if you're watching something particularly bad. But but yeah, that's what the sunk cost fallacy is. It's doing it anyway.
When you should quit.
When you should quit.
Do something else instead.
Yeah, because you feel like you have to justify the money that you spent, but you don't.
And it's not just sunk money. It can be sunk time, and it can be sunk emotion, and it can be sunk all kinds of things. Yeah. It's not just cold hard money, is it?
No.
You could be like, I've spent 10 years forming this relationship, and it turns out they're a twat. They're an absolute weasel, and I need to leave. But you're like, I've spent 10 years on this, I need to stay.
Yeah. I need to put more investment into this.
Yeah, I need to fix it.
No, you don't. You don't need to do that. And, you don't need to waste any more of your life. If anybody is in a horrible relationship and they're miserable and they think that they have to stay because they've been there for ages and it's, you have to work at it. I think you should work at it, but
try and fix it.
But if you've been trying to fix it and it doesn't work, don't stay, for goodness sake. And that goes for, by the way, work relationships as well. Toxic clients. I see this all the time with people. You've put loads of effort into winning these clients and, getting the new work and getting the new customers. And so, you have to, and then they turn out to be complete arseholes, and you have to take that opportunity and keep it and keep the client. You don't have to, because you don't get that effort back.
Yeah, ditch them
and move on. And, I've done that with websites as well, way in the past, a long time ago, before my more recent websites, but a long, long time ago. And it's just like, I had this website made and, by, I don't know, I can't even remember the name of the company now. Well, I wouldn't say anyway.
Yeah,
but
somebody.
Yeah, but it didn't do what I needed it to do. And so but I was just like, I've got to use this website. I have to use it because I've paid for it. And it's like, no, I don't. Actually, I could go and get another one made because I'm not going to get that money back anyway. And okay, if I haven't physically got the money, then
that's a different issue.
That's a different issue. But if it's just that, even though it's not working, I need to keep using it because I paid for it. And it's like, you don't need to, because you can't get that time, effort, or money back. It's gone. Move on. And also, talking about AI, the film earlier, this is a massively human flaw. Children don't make this mistake. Children don't suffer from the sunk cost fallacy, nor do animals, nor does AI. So artificial intelligence does not make decisions in the same way that we do, because an AI would never ever take past investments into account when making future decisions, unless it had some relevant bearing. I mean, the kind of thing that we've been talking about. The kind of thing that we've been talking about, not looking at past patterns.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, we've sunk all this money into it, therefore
we should hang on for a bit.
We should hang on for a bit. Yeah, the AI would be like, no, you cut that, it's not working, do something else.
You make a rational decision and we're off.
Yeah. So yeah, we screw ourselves over completely, basically, as humans. Our brains are wonderful and ridiculous things.
But they're not very rational, and they do trick you into doing stupid stuff.
They do, and what makes me really laugh is that we all think that we're so rational and we're making all these rational decisions, and we don't see our biases.
Oh man, I had this discussion with somebody at work the other day.
Oh, go on.
He made a statement, and it was not a statement I disagreed with, but we were kind of halfway through a lively discussion anyway, so I thought, well, I'd go for it. And I said, well, that's an interesting point of view. However, you're making that point of view from the basis of being a white English man who's been white and privileged and educated and fed British media forever. So, you're looking at it through white British eyes. And he was like, well, I don't think that makes a difference. And I was like, well, yes, it does. And he's like, yeah, well, my statement is true. I was like, well, it might be, but you're still biased.
Yeah.
He was like, no, I'm not. I was like, of course you are. And we went around the houses a few times, and he basically could not accept that he was biased in any way.
And we all are. Everybody is. Every human is massively biased. And the trick, I think, is once you're aware of it, you can start to work around it. And you're never going to get rid of your biases, I don't think, because it's the way we're wired.
That's set in childhood, isn't it? It's
very
hard to break.
It's very hard to break. You can change minds, and you can change your mind, and you can change as a person. But I think the very first step is to be aware of it. And it's like, I will quite often catch myself thinking something and then be like, hang on a minute. Why am I thinking this? Where is that thought coming from? Where is all this coming from? And it's just like, you're just thinking about things a little bit more carefully. And that is relevant to the sunk cost fallacy thing, because it's like, next time you're making a decision to carry on doing something that you're not entirely happy with, ask yourself why. Because if it's something that you're not happy with, but that you really genuinely think will reap rewards down the road and be worth it, carry on, fill your boots. But if you're only carrying on with this thing that you don't enjoy doing because
it's what you do.
Because it's what you do.
It's what you have done.
It's what you've done.
You've invested.
You've invested in it. For goodness sake, stop, because you're just throwing good money after bad that way. It's insane. Our brains are ridiculous. And it's the same with relationships as well.
For sure.
So don't waste your time and energy and money on a lost cause. Think about how to avoid it. And there are 3 ways that you can think about how to avoid it very quickly.
Okay, very quickly.
First of all, make it okay to make mistakes.
Okay, good plan.
It's okay to make mistakes. If you learn from your mistakes, they're never wasted.
Yeah, that's where the benefit is. Your knowledge. You have increased your skills and your knowledge.
Yes, but, covering up errors with more errors just compounds the whole thing. And it's just, make it okay to be wrong about things. Next thing is, what is the cost of failure? Have a look at what the cost of failure is. Absolutely have a look at what the cost of failure is. But also have a look at what the cost of carrying on regardless is. Because that is often, don't be like Concorde. Unless you're doing something amazing and technological that might have ramifications further down the road. Look at the numbers. Walk away from the sunk cost because it's meaningless to your future. Look at your numbers really carefully. Mm-hmm. And thirdly, talk about, before you embark on stuff, talk to people. If you've got a team, talk to your team. If you've got colleagues or mentors or, support groups, talk about what happens if it does all go tits up. Mm-hmm. And, what are you doing to keep an eye on things? Are you measuring? Are you testing? Because quite often you find yourself in a situation months down the line. It's
the whole devil's advocate or the Israeli 11th man, isn't it?
Yeah.
You kind of want somebody, no matter what their personal opinion is, to say, okay, I'm taking the opposite view.
Yeah, what if this happens? What if? What will you do if this happens? And also examine how things make you feel as well, because if you're making too many emotionally led decisions, then you want to be looking at why and what's driving that, and is there a rationale behind it? Because we do make decisions emotionally. That's how we're wired. Yeah. But you need to recognise that and mitigate for it.
Yes, if you're advertising your business by aligning your chakras and emitting peace into the world via the medium of meditation.
I thought you were going to say farts. Then that would be really funny.
Sorry. Then that's nice, but it probably not a sound business decision.
No, you are not going to fucking manifest wealth just by thinking about it. And we'll come back to that another day.
Right, we're half an hour in. What are we doing?
We are. Well, takeaway basically is don't throw good money after bad.
Okay, simple. Don't do that, folks.
Think about things. Just think more.
Jesus, people, just think about it.
So next week, Joe and I will be back next week. And we are going to be talking about how you need to get the hell out of your own way.
Okay.
Limiting beliefs we're going to be talking about.
Limiting beliefs.
Yeah, because we are all awful to each other, ourselves. We're awful to ourselves.
Right.
And we limit each other. Or ourselves. Anyway, pronoun problem. I've got on a pronoun safari. So, if you like this podcast, go to iTunes and subscribe because it helps more people reach us. And leave us a review. That would be amazing, please. Or, leave us a review wherever you get your podcast from. If you know somebody who will enjoy this nonsense, then send them a link. Send them to vickyfraser.com/podcast. Mm-hmm. There is a new shiny website coming soon. It's going to be wonderful. And if you really want to start getting stuff done and stand out from the crowd and do business in a non-icky, exciting, fun, get shit done kind of way, you can join my superheroes. You'll be very, very welcome. You can go to vickyfraser.com/inner circle or possibly inner -circle. One of those will work.
You can find it.
Yeah, you can find it. Or, actually just drop me an email and I'll send you the link. Yeah, do that.
Right.
Link in show notes. Link in show notes. There you go.
Link in the show notes.
Thanks very much for showing up, Joe, and rambling with me.
No worries.
Let's have dinner.
Let's do that.
See you next week.
Bye.
Like what you've just heard? Tell your colleagues. Tell your friends. Send them to www.businessforsuperheroes.com/podcast.